Very bright up here. As soon as we get everybody settled, we'll get started. Good afternoon. Welcome to those of you who are here and those of you who are streaming. Welcome to the land of virtual living. Welcome to a very celebration for a very special friend, Jimmy Grana. That's friend with a small f and friend with a capital F. That capital F is for Arlington Friends of the Drama. More on that in a minute. My name is Ellen Kazin, and I'm delighted to be your hostess for our trip down memory lane this afternoon. By the way, all these microphones that you see up here, that's not for us. That's for the streaming, so we're actually live. These don't work for us. These are working for the people who are out there in the hinterlands someplace. Memorial Day weekend, 1975, NETC one-act play competition at Brandeis. I met Jimmy Grana, this seemingly over-the-top, way too exuberant guy. He was there with the Winthrop Playmakers who were doing Crawling Arnold. Not surprisingly, Jimmy was Arnold. I was there with supporting the Hovey Players who was doing The Feast. At the time, I thought Jimmy was in a constant state of acting and therefore must be a phony. No one could be that on all the time. I soon learned otherwise. That Jimmy was the guy we came to know and to love. His love of AFD, his love of life, his love for his friends, both capital and small f, was so very real. And how about his love for his four-legged friends, the last of whom being his beloved Sophie? And of course, his love for John, very deep and very real. Today we're here to celebrate Jimmy, who he was, what he brought to AFD, and how we remember him and his contributions to this place. Jimmy loved theater, all of it, acting, directing, and just inhaling it. This theater was his family, and he wanted everyone he knew to love it as much as he did. He was Mr. AFD, actor, performer, past president, past program director, past whatever needed to be done. He stood at the ready. If you were new to AFD, Jimmy made sure to let you know you were part of a very special place. If he saw someone at some other venue that he thought was talented, he would try to get them into the fold here at 22 Academy Street. We miss him today, and today we will celebrate him. 1987, the show is Barnum, and who else should play P.T. Barnum? Here's the opening number to explain exactly who Phineas Taylor Barnum was, as sung originally at AFD by Jimmy, but this afternoon by Jocelyn Hess.
There is a sucker born every minute. Each time that second hand swoops to the top like dandelions, up they pop, their ears so big, their eyes so wide, and though I feed them bona fide baloney with no truth in it, well, you can bet I'll find some room to buy my corn, 'cause there's a sure shooting sucker born a minute, and I'm referring to the minute you was born. Each blessed hour brings 60 of them. Each time that wooden cuckoo shows his face, another sucker takes his place, slaps his quarter on the line to buy my brand of genuine malarkey. God bless and love 'em, but don't feel sad or hopping mad or cause a scene, 'cause there's a sure shooting sucker born a minute. But ma'am, you might have been the minute in between. If I allow that right here in my hands, the smallest living human man, the thought of that is surely worth a dime. If I bring an educated pooch who's trained to dance the hoochie cooch, what better way to waste a bit of time? If I import at monumental cost a lady fair whose head was lost while crossing railroad tracks to pick some zinnias, who eats farina through a hose and wears pink tights instead of clothes. If that ain't worth a buck, my name ain't Phineas. How you say that hogwash? Well, who cares? You'll buy my hogwash long as there's a sucker born every minute. second hand sweeps to the top like dandelions. Up they pop, their ears so big, their eyes so wide. Though my tail is bona fide baloney, just let me spin it. There ain't a man who can resist me, wait and see. 'Cause there's a sure shooting sucker born a minute. And friends, the biggest one, excluding none, is
She didn't have the Jimmy squat, but I think she did. She did the rest of it. One thing about Jimmy, he may have rewritten many a script in his day. But even if he forgot the playwright's actual words, he could be counted on to say something. It may not have been what the playwright had envisioned, or it may have been an embellishment of the original lines, but he would always come through. Like in the 1978 production of Six Rooms Review. Basically, the set was an empty apartment, hence the title, that Paul and Anne were checking out. They were not a married couple. As Jimmy, playing Paul, went to enter the apartment from stage left, the doorknob came off in his hand. There he was, on the wrong side of the door, and the scene was to go on. What to do? Ever the improviser, Jimmy came through the window. I remember it. Later on in the show, there was a plastic chair, which could be blown up like you would a balloon. So he was using a pump to inflate the chair, and whether there was a leak or some other problem, the chair was not cooperating. So Betty Finnegan, who was playing Anne, tried to rescue the problem with a song, and she started singing from The King and I. Jimmy, still struggling as Betty got to the end, had the next line. "Betty," he said, "sing another verse." Recreating a scene from 1978's Six Rooms, directed by Joe Stallone, here are Judd Pierce as Paul and Lise Adams as Anne.
I have a feeling being locked up is having an adverse effect on our characters.
I do feel strange.
So do I. You know what it is?
What?
I haven't been really alone with a man other than Richard in about 7 years.
Hey, that is true. That's weird.
Except the man who does the windows and the super.
Sometimes I'm alone with my secretary, but she doesn't count. It's spooky, you know, but I like it.
Yeah, so do I. It feels wicked.
No, you know how it feels? Really?
What?
Young. When was the last time you felt young?
I think Grover Cleveland was nice.
Right, next thing you know, we'll be shopping for burial plots.
When I die, I want to be pushed under the sink.
Damn.
Don't feel bad. For an older man, I think you're awfully nice.
Thank you. I think you're a knockout.
Oh, you shouldn't say that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You do?
Well, yes, I really do.
In what way am I a knockout?
Well, you're a hell of a good sport for starters, and you're pretty, and you're fun, and you're a smart
All
cookie.
right, stop. I always used to be a smart cookie before I was married. I didn't know I still was.
Sure you are.
I was the office Eve Arden.
I like a quick wit.
You can't be very witty with the diaper man.
No.
In college, I was a beatnik. Isn't that a beautiful word? Beatnik. I never said a thing that wasn't a non sequitur. God, I thought I was Zelda Fitzgerald.
I was J.D. Salinger.
Funny how in those days, if you went to bed together, you got married. Boy, that feels like a million years ago. Thanks, Paul, for making me feel like Zelda Fitzgerald again.
You shouldn't lose her. She's a terrific girl.
Tell you what I'll do. Tonight, when Richard calls in, I'll hit him with a few non sequiturs just to keep him practice.
Listen, we're not doing anything special tonight, and Janet's tied up with her mob. So why don't we have dinner tonight?
What?
Dinner, together.
Uh-oh, I can't.
Why not?
I just can't.
Oh, sure you can.
I feel funny. I even feel funny now that you've asked me.
So do I. Believe it or not, I've never asked another woman out since Janet.
I believe it. You're not the type.
Then have dinner with me.
Paul!
Come on, we make each other feel good. Come on, it'll help us get through tomorrow's linoleum. What's the harm?
Paul, you know we're not the kind of people who do things like that.
Like what, eat? All I'm asking is for you for dinner.
I don't even know you. I couldn't, really.
I know. Let's have a picnic.
It's supposed to rain tonight.
We'll have it here.
Here?
Sure, the apartment's empty. Why not?
Oh, listen, let's just stop this before we're both sorry.
I don't want to stop. I want to have dinner with you, a perfectly straightforward, above-board, respectable dinner between two friends.
In an empty apartment?
Oh, don't be so middle class.
That's middle class? Not to have dinner with a strange man in an empty apartment?
Well,
No.
now you're being silly.
I suppose I am, but it's the only way I can be.
I wish you'd change your mind.
It was really terrific meeting you, Paul. Goodbye.
Damn it. I'm not taking no for an answer. I'll be here at 7:30 with a full picnic basket.
I'm not coming, Paul.
I'll be here anyway.
You'll be wasting an evening.
I'd have to lock myself in the bedroom at home anyway. Look, I'll bring some Wonder Woman comics. How can you resist that?
Ciao.
7:30.
I can't make it before 8.
Jimmy's last appearance in a main stage production on our stage was as Mr. Marichek in She Loves Me in 2010. We saw him in all his glory, singing and even dancing a little bit. The set for that show used our turntable. We could set one scene while another was going on and then turn the table so the scene changes went smoothly and quickly. That was the plan. Don't get ahead of me. At a given rehearsal, had ended with Marichek's phone call to his wife, and then he was to exit off left, where ostensibly in a fit of desperation, we would have believed he shot himself. As all that was happening, the turntable was to do its thing, perfect. Except that the leg stage right caught on the set, making the whole thing a mess. Stage manager Stu Hazen yelled, "Stop!" And the move was made to go back, end the scene again, and have the set change worked as planned. He had to find Jimmy, who was now asked to go back, make that infamous phone call again, and the scene would get changed without incident. Jimmy appeared. Now, the question is, was Jimmy a method actor? What was his conversation with his wife supposed to be? Let's go back and make sure it was all going perfectly. So Jimmy picked up the prop phone on stage and stopped the action. Why, you might ask? Wait, he explained. There's static on this line. Stu yelled, "Jimmy, it's called acting. Just say your line." And so he did. By the way, Jimmy was great in that show. 2015, sorry. We introduced The Boy from Oz, which was the last show Jimmy directed. 2015. Jimmy had gone from Maine to New York to see Hugh Jackman and just fell in love with that show, was convinced that AFD could and should do it, and he was the guy to direct it, which he was. Here is our boy from Oz, Tom Hardy.
Quiet, please. There's a lady on stage. She may not be the latest rage, but she's singing, and she means it. And she deserves a little silence. Quiet, please. There's a person up there, and she's been honest through her songs long before your consciousness was raised. And doesn't that deserve a little praise? So put your hands together, help her along. All that's left of the singers, all that's left of the song. Smile for the occasion and give her one last celebration. Quiet, please. There's a woman up there who's singing of the sins that none of us could bear to hear for ourselves. Give her your respect, if nothing else. So put your hands together, help her along. All that's left of the singers, all that's left of the song. Oh, won't you stand for the ovation and give her one last celebration? Put your hands together, help her along. All that's left of the singers, all that's left of the song. Oh, won't you stand for the ovation and give her one last celebration? Put your hands together, help her along. All that's left of the singers, all that's left of the song. Oh, won't you stand for the ovation and give her one last celebration? Quiet, please. Jimmy's on stage. Conductor, turn the final page. When it's over, we can all go home, but he lives on the stage alone.
I was lucky enough to direct Jimmy, to be directed by Jimmy, and to appear on stage with him. Let's remember that acting is not my strong suit, so I always need strong support, and thank God Jimmy was available to give that support. The first time was in Mac and Mabel in 1980. He played Mac Sennett, and I was Lottie, a rather almost over-the-hill dancers. Hope that wasn't typecasting. Anyway, it was a long time ago. I was younger. Anyway, Mac was a colorful character, and in his office at the studio was a bathtub. In one scene, he was supposedly bathing, and Lottie comes in to yell at him about something. There he was in his little Speedo, and there I was at the end of the tub, pointing my finger and giving him what for. She was there. All of a sudden, I realized he was using his upstage leg, his upstage foot, so the audience couldn't see it, to run up and down my upstage leg. Being the professional that I thought I was calm. Finally, I couldn't contain myself, and I started to giggle. Then I started to laugh. Eventually, I figured to hell with the whole thing and turned away from him. He had the next line. And professional that he was, he just burst out laughing. As did the other people on the stage in that scene. Blackout. And George Connor, our beloved stage manager, had plenty to say to us afterwards. When asked why he did it, Jimmy said this was a benefit performance for the Masons, who were mostly in their cups anyway, and he said he'd never thought I'd break. Right. We all broke. The other time I was on stage with Jimmy was Chicago in 1986. Jimmy was Billy, and I was playing Roxy Hart. At the next to the last scene in that musical, we are in court, where Billy will defend Roxy from a murder charge, and her husband, Amos, is going to show up at the trial and get everything fixed. The precise moment when Amos was to appear stage right, I looked over, and no Amos. So I looked to Jimmy, the pro on the stage, for help. After all, as we know, Jimmy may sometimes have been accused of rewriting scripts, but we all know he would say something. He would rescue the scene before it went horribly wrong. I looked pleadingly to my left because I knew he would save me. And he shrugged. He shrugged. So I muddled through. I said my lines and Amos's lines, and thank God the scene finally ended, and I thanked the pro for his help. In 2007, Jimmy was at the helm of Carousel. This afternoon, singing from Carousel is Phyllis Uloth, or as Jimmy called her, Phyllis.
I'm cheating. When we've tucked the kids in their downy beds and listened to each one pray, we'll kiss the tops of their tousled heads and tiptoe quietly away. We'll tiptoe into our sitting room where we love to be by ourselves, where the flickering glow of the firelight makes the books wink down from their shelves. And every evening will always be me in my armchair, you on my knee. When the children are asleep, we'll sit and dream the things that every other dad and mother dream. When my children are asleep and lights are low, if I still love you the way I love you today, you'll pardon my saying, I told you so. When the children are asleep, I'll dream with you. We'll think what fun we have had and be glad that it all came true. And now if you'll all join me in a sing-along of June is Busting Out All Over, you'll find the lyrics in your program. Don't worry, we're not doing all the verses. June is busting out all over the meadow and the hill. Yes, they're busting out of bushes and the romping rivers pushes every little wheel that brings beside a mill. June is busting out all over. The feeling is getting kind
Give yourselves a hand. Well done, well done. Oh, 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 don't do that. Yes. Yes, I could get down, but getting up is tough. Thank you. The year is 1977. AFD was producing Carnival. Our leading man had to leave the show. What to do? Someone knew of a guy who knew of a guy who knew of a guy. Jimmy Grana to the rescue. He was to do that several times after that, but more on that. Anyway, Paul, the main man of the carnival, was not a particularly nice man. And the main thing we saw about him right away was that he had a pronounced limp. At least it gave Jimmy something to grab onto for characterization. As it happened, Stu Kazin was doing lights for that show, and as rehearsals were coming to the end, daughter Alyssa, she was 11 at the time, chose to go up to the booth with Dad and see what was going on. After the rehearsal, she was able to give Jimmy the following note. Quote, "How come sometimes you limp with your right leg and sometimes you limp with your left leg?" Unquote. He said to me later, "That little shit." Sorry, Alyssa's children. But he did manage to keep the limp on the same leg going forward. Almost 40 years ago, AFD presented 2 by 2, the story of Noah and his family. It took us from the beginning of the story through the flood and the end when the family has been brought to safety. Throughout, Noah talks to God. Donnie Balargian played Noah's son, Japheth, but this afternoon, he will be offering Noah's last words to God, which ended our production. Donnie Balargian.
All in all, quite a year. Frankly, I don't think I could take another one like it. Oh, but I could use a drink. Here it is, my birthday again, and still nobody remembers it. 601 years old. You think somebody would say something? Thanks. What are you doing hanging around here, Lord? There's a whole world that needs attention. No, I'm not trying to tell you to do your business, but I wouldn't mind knowing what you got in mind. I mean, suppose it doesn't work out so good this time either, huh? You got to do it to us again? Because between you and me, I think once was enough. No. Get sore all you want to. There's nothing you can do to me now. You took Esther away because I lost faith. But you made a mistake, Lord. Now, there's no reason to be afraid of you anymore. All right, enough socializing. I've got a proposition that I'm sure you will acclaim. You won't destroy the world again. We won't forget your name. That's it. Take it or leave it. You keep us alive and we'll keep you alive. God? I'm talking to you. Don't you turn your back on me. You made us. You wanted us to survive. Now you're going to have to deal with us. You won't regret it. I promise you that. Oh, it'll look pretty bad sometimes. Impossible, in fact. But we'll make it. I'm sure of that too. But in case we don't, it won't be your fault anymore. From now on, it'll be in man's hands to make or destroy the world, and you'll definitely be off the hook, thanks to me. What do you say? Come on, God. Send me a sign. Anything. A rainbow.
My first show with Jimmy was Camelot in 1978. He was King Arthur. He was smashing. All those tights. Quick changes meant tights over tights over tights. He never screwed up the sequence. One night during performance, I was watching from the back of the theater, where the director stands because she has nothing left to do. And at one of the very last scene changes, I heard a crash, a major crash. So even knowing that it was hopefully under control, I went dashing back, down the back stairs, up onto the back of the stage. What happened, I asked. It seems that for some unknown reason, our Guinevere decided to make an exit in the dark, a different way than usual, and crashed into the scenery. By the time I got there, Barbara Horrigan, our costume designer, told me Guinevere was crying in the bathroom. In those days, there was a bathroom off stage left. I knocked on the door. She was inside, locked, crying. I knocked again. I practically dragged her out, explained that she had nothing left to do except walk across the stage from stage right to stage left, where King Arthur would be waiting to tell her she was to be burned at the stake. As I pushed her across the back of the stage singing "There's No Business Like Show Business," then I shoved her out so Jimmy could get his dramatic speech underway. Problem solved. After the show was over, Jimmy said to me, "I must have been especially good tonight. Mary was crying before I even started speaking." I said nothing. Jimmy's last lines in that show, after he has sent young Sir Tom off to tell the world what is going on, were delivered to Pellinore, who asked the king, "Who was that?" "One of what we all are, Pelly. Less than a drop in the great blue motion of the sunlit sea. But some of the drops sparkle, Pelly. And Jimmy, boy, did you sparkle." 1978 saw Jimmy as Georges in La Cage aux Folles, opposite Hugh Metzler as Alban. His acting chops were on full display in this love story. Recreating two of the iconic songs from that show is David Warnock.
Jimmy would understand. Do you recall that windy little beach we walked along? That afternoon in fall, that afternoon we met. A fellow with a concertina sang. What was the song? It's strange what we recall, and odd what we forget. I heard la da 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 as we walked on the sand. I heard la da da da. I believe it was early September. Through the crash of the waves, I could tell that the words were romantic. Something about sharing, something about always. Though the years race along, I still think of our song on the sand. And I still try and search for the words I can barely remember. Though the time tumbles by, there is one thing that I am forever certain of. I hear la da 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 da. And I'm young and in love. I am what I am, and I am my own special creation. So, come, take a look. Give me the hook or the ovation. It's my world that I want to have a little pride in. My world, and it's not a place I have to hide in. Life's not worth a damn till you can say, hey world, I am what I am. I am what I am. I don't want praise. I don't want pity. I bang my own drum. Some think it's noise. I think it's pretty. And so what? If I love each feather and each spangle, why not try to see things from a different angle? Your life is a sham till you can shout out loud, I am what I am. I am what I am, and what I am needs no excuses. I deal my own deck, sometimes the ace, sometimes the deuces. There's one life, and there's no return and no deposit. One life, so it's time to open up your closet. Life's not worth a damn till you can say, hey world, I am what I am.
Coming on next will be Joe Stallone. He's got the next few words. I'll see you in a minute.
So, I'm Joe Stallone, and we're here to celebrate Jimmy, and so we'd like to give you the opportunity, if anybody has a story or a memory that you'd like to share now. I will be timing it more severely than the Oscars. We do have a hook in the back waiting, but please come on up and tell us what you know, and I'll start us off. So, I was the costume designer for She Loves Me. I was also the dresser doing fast changes. And I had the opportunity, we all know Jimmy was perpetual motion. And I had to get him out of a three-piece suit into another three-piece suit with a different tie and a different hat, but he wouldn't stop moving. I said, Jimmy, I can't put your pants on or take them off if you don't stop moving. And he said, I know, but I don't have time. And I said, but stop. He said, no, I don't have time. God love ya. We did get him dressed finally, and but yeah, the other thing, Jimmy would always ask about my mother. Every time I saw him, he'd say, how's Mummy? How's Mama? And she just loved hearing that he remembered her. So, who else? No, we're going to just go for it. Actually, nobody at home will be able to hear you because, well, come on up. Need a hand, sweetie? Here.
Oops. Sorry.
You know what? Okay.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Susan Harrington.
2 minutes.
I was production manager for West Side Story. We had auditions, and we had a number of people audition, obviously. Nancy Kern-Willis was the director. This absolutely handsome, young, tall young man showed up. Jimmy comes up in the back, and he says, who's that? I said, oh, what's he auditioning for? I said, he's not. What do you mean he's not auditioning? He's just here to pick up his girlfriend. She's auditioning for Maria, but why isn't he auditioning, Susan? I asked him, Jimmy. I asked him 3 times. He said, no, but give me that audition form. And this is what I saw. And the young man said, okay, so I won't go over my 2 minutes. He was eye candy for Judy Forgione. She was so happy because he was our Chino, and he did a wonderful job. That was our Jimmy. He was going to get his way. Even though you told him you tried and you made the effort, he was going to get his way. He did, and he was wonderful. Thank you.
Open mic night. Open mic night. Anybody? Yeah, come on up. And Sandy, you'll be next? Good. So. And you can use either mic because they both feed to our live stream.
Oh, hi, Mary Sheehan from Connecticut. I have my handkerchief at the ready because if you know me, Mim the Mush. I first saw Jimmy. My aunt took me to see Mac and Mabel here when I was in high school. And of course, I fell in love with Jimmy. He was amazing. And later on, I was looking for a job, and I happened to be doing the Winton Club show. And this lady, my mother was saying I needed a job, and this lady, Mrs. Pirani, said, oh, my husband is the vice president at Pastine, and he's looking for a secretary. I said, oh, I'm interested. And she said, do you know Jimmy Grana? You'll be sitting right behind him. I was sold. Anyway, I did have the amazing fortune to sit behind him and work. For 7 years, we became really good friends. I got to work with him as a director in Follies, as a performer in 2x2, produced La Cage aux Folles. Anyway, we know the energy, the personality. Every time he entered a room with his, he was everything. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. I don't want to cry. Love you, Jimmy, and I know you and Hugh are up there doing Song on the Sand.
Okay. You speak really loud so the mic will pick you up. How's that? Oh, wait a minute.
But Jimmy was a buddy from many organizations around town plus here. And he always called me, Pudgy Little Sandy, Stormy Daniels.
Anybody else? Oh, yeah, come on. Yeah, watch your step. I'll hold on to this. You hold on to you, okay? There we go.
Hi, I'm Andrea Rossler. 1985, I was a brand new director of interior design at Allen Furniture in Needham, Massachusetts. And I would handle customer service calls, that had issues. And the phone rang one day, and it was somebody named John Kawadla. He's like, we got a problem. And I was brand new to the job. And he said, there's a problem with some of my furniture that was delivered, and you need to come see it. I'm like, okay, where do you live? He's like, Medford. So I trucked all the way up to Medford one day and found their apartment, and Jimmy and John were both there and introduced myself and trying to be very professional and said, what's the problem? They're like, well, it's in the den. So we go in, and they had this sofa, and I won't go into the issue, but over the sofa was an entire wall of theater programs and posters, and it was love at first sight. And I said, you guys we're going to click. And we've been friends ever since. And of course, with the theater, you know, we had to talk about what we're doing. I was a member of the Sudbury Savoyards for many, many years. I'm a member of the Concord Players now. Jimmy would come here and there, and Jimmy did perform with Concord Players, but before my time. So, of course, we're like, well, what are you in? And well, what are you in? We'll come and see you. Okay, we'll come and see you. So we went and saw Jimmy in a production of I Hate Hamlet, which was in a very hot church basement in Winchester, and we're blown away by him. So I'm like, all right, Jimmy, you owe me. I was in a 1991 production of The Gondoliers in Sudbury. So they came, they brought me flowers, and afterwards they both gave me a hug and a kiss and said, we love you, Andy, but please don't ever make us see Gilbert and Sullivan again.
I'll get this, don't worry about it. Yep, thanks, Andrea. Last one. Anybody? One more. Come on down.
Hi, I'm Jim Fitzpatrick, and wow. I just wanted to say I was very lucky to encounter Jimmy at the end of his run here and to be in the last show with him. And I just wanted to tell you all about how I got to know him. And as in theater, you always hear somebody's name or you see in a production. I saw Jimmy in The Baker's Wife. And I thought, well, you have to do a show with somebody to really meet them. So I was lucky enough to do Kiss of the Spider Woman here in 2005. And after one of the, I'm having a good night. After one of the shows, you know, you're convalescing, you're saying hello to people, you're trying to figure out what you did right and wrong. And they open the doors, and this little man comes running at me and jumps and wraps his arms around my neck and just, you know, his feet are off the floor. And I'm thinking, you know, I don't know who this is, but I'm pretty sure it's Jimmy Grana. And he had lovely things to say. And then as you were mentioning, the last show he did was She Loves Me, and I got to see him full force. And it was lovely. I think I can confirm the costume story that you told. He was all arms and legs and loveliness, and I just decided when I was in that show with him that I wanted to be him when I grew up. And unfortunately, I didn't see a lot of him, you know, after that, because that's another thing that happens when you don't do theater. You don't see your theater friends very much. But I definitely still want to be Jimmy when I grow up. Thank you.
Yeah. As we are coming to the end of our celebration, and before we invite you all to come up and join us for more reminiscing and noshing, let me take a few minutes to thank a few people who made all of this possible. As always, and on a very personal note, thanks to Stu. I don't do any of this without him. So first of all, to thank you all for coming or Zooming. We're glad you could join us. To Judy Weinberg and Joe Stallone, who brought all this to fruition. To John Leslie, who handled all the accompaniments so perfectly. You should all note that we had one rehearsal where people met John, sort of went through the music, and John picked up all the slack. If you haven't met him or seen any of the shows he has music directed or seen him perform, now that you have met him, make sure that you keep him on your radar. As a historical footnote, in the 60s, Jimmy performed in How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying in Worcester with the Entractors. In that show was Grace Leslie, John's mom. At that time, she met Jimmy, she worked with him. So Grace Leslie was John's mom, worked with Jimmy. John was a little kid at the time. No need to thank me. So now, with John playing for us and for Jimmy, we bring his theatrical career full circle. Thanks to all the performers who were part of Jimmy's life and were able to salute him. To Charlotte Kelly for the slides that you've seen, for Joe and Judy and Ian for putting that slideshow together. To Ian Basin for whose lighting expertise, without whose lighting expertise you wouldn't have seen any of us. To Tom Powers for the sound setup. And for those of you who were early enough here, the slideshow you saw was organized by those two guys up there. Thank you, gentlemen. So to all those who helped this afternoon with refreshments or did other important behind-the-scenes things, the producer wishes to thank you now. And finally, and most importantly, to John, I swore, for sharing Jimmy with us. The two of you had something very special. Thank you, John. I swore I wasn't going to do that. And now let me introduce one more of Jimmy's friends who will add his thoughts and introduce our big finish, Glenn Ryan.
And I would like to thank Ellen for emceeing this, getting us all together. He's always a super friend. Hi, I'm Glenn Ryan, a fellow actor friend of Jimmy's for almost 50 years. Now, my wife Harriet became a fan of Jim's after seeing him in Finian's Rainbow as Og before we married in 1970. Shortly after that, I became a fan when I saw him as Harold Hill in The Music Man. I think it was the Winthrop Players. We're still fans. Now, throughout those years, our friendship grew in theater circles and at social engagements. One of the special occasions was when Jim and John were married at the Cafe Escadrille on a snowy afternoon, April 5th, 2006. Jim had met John in the summer of '63 at a bar. John had just returned from California to his family with a scholarship to Boston College. I don't know how much studying got done, but they soon moved into their first apartment in Mission Hill. Their Medford condo and their beloved Kenny Bunkport summer home came soon thereafter. They were together for 57 glorious years, with John doing the cooking and Jimmy doing the cleanup. Now, is there one word to capture Jimmy's essence, like theatrical, people person, pain in the ass? As I thought of that, I remembered one afternoon shortly after Jimmy's passing when Susan Harrington sighted us, jammed on her brakes, got out of her car and rushed over with outstretched hands saying, "I need a Jimmy hug." And that she did. You know what that is. It's when his eyes would light up as he greeted you with a great big hug, a big kiss, and ask, "Glennie, how the hell are you?" He made you feel special. And he had a special name just for you. Yeah, mine was Glennie. Harriet was the blonde bombshell. Nancy Richardson, Fancy Nancy. Marion Desilets, Mariah. Stu Kazan, Stuzy. John Murtaugh was Johnsy. Alan Kazan was Cops. Cops? What's that all about? What was your special name? You know, and then I thought of the word passionate. Whatever job Jim took on, he gave it his all, whether at Pastine, Harvard Health, where he received 3 Diamond Awards for outstanding service at his condo association, play reading chair, director, best actor 5 times at NETC, AFD president, friend. He would give you more than 100%. He wanted the best shows at AFD, the best cast, the best crew. He made you want to step up. Sure, he was definite, sometimes melodramatic, but you knew where you were with Jim. Jim is a star. And you know, like stars, they're friends. You don't always see them, but you always know that they are there. Jim had always wanted to star in the musical Grand Hotel, where he could sing the song, "We'll Take a Glass." The Michael Jeter clip on YouTube was one of his last email postings. Now, he did get to sing that song at an AFD meeting once with Pedro Figueroa. So we thought it only fitting to end our program with Pedro singing the first verse for us, and then we could all join in on the second verse. The lyrics are in your program. Now, after the song, please join us up on the stage to take a glass to Jimmy. Share a story with a friend, share your special name, and maybe a Jimmy hug. Pedro?
We'll take a glass together in celebration of our meeting, in celebration of our being face to face, friendly, civilized members of the race. No, why to you, then you to me. I know we do. We'll take a glass together and we will lift it to the good life. And as we're lifting it, we will most sincerely say, Prosit, your health, sir, salute, and skål. Contrasante, for one warm moment in this cold and careless day, we'll take a glass together. We'll take a glass together in celebration of our meeting, in celebration of our being at this bar. Improbable, impeccable. Ah, yes, but here we are. I'll drink to you. No, why to you? Then vice versa, then vice versa. I think it's true. I'm sure it's true. Things may be bad, but could be worse. Absolutely. We'll ask no why or whether. We'll seize this moment as it moves us. Come, come, my comrade, sip the nectar of the day. Sherry, Campari, Scotch whiskey, chartreuse, and absinthe frappe. For one warm moment in this world that's cold and crass, we'll take a glass together, together, together. L'chaim!
I know it's a little awkward, but Ellen said that I should do this now. Did you want everybody to come up first? Okay, all right, so I'm Marion Desolates. And I am honored, it is my honor, to read on behalf of John this beautiful letter that was written to Jimmy by another star in the sky, Joni Malatesta Story. I'm doing this now because I was told to try to turn it into a toast, so work with me here. But this was written to Jimmy after they both had performed in AFD's production of I Do, I Do, directed by Ellen Kazin. Dear Jimmy, this has been such a wonderful experience working with you again so soon after Franklin. Even after 23 years, I am still in awe of your natural acting talent. Not only are you superb, but you make the people on stage with you shine as well. I know that is true for me. I feel as though my performance strengthens when I interact with you on stage. You have such a gift. Being a wonderful actor is only a part of why I admire you so. You are also a kind, thoughtful, funny, and caring person who brings sunshine into other people's lives, always looking at the bright side of things. How magical it has been to know you these past years and to be inspired by you, both on and off stage. Thank you for all you have brought to me in my life, my Paul, my Ben, my Michael, my Jimmy. I have been blessed to know you. Love, Joni. They say when it's dark, look for the stars. Well, my sweet Jimmy, your star is the brightest one up in the sky. So let's all toast Jimmy. Come on up.